Those who refuse the gift of eternal life are condemned to wander in the darkness of eternal night. Coming this fall from SJS Direct. One of my viewers sent me a link to an article in the New York Post detailing how Manhattan's Upper West Side, some of the most priciest real estate here in New York City, has been turned into a ghetto by homeless black men who have been given residence in some of the hotels on the Upper West Side. Now, the article tries to make an effort to demonize black men as part of the problem as related to what's going on with the decline of the Upper West Side. But when I take a critical examination of what's leading to this chaos and the complete decline of standards on the Upper West Side, they all relate to one white man, your Mayor Bill de Blasio. And when I take a critical examination of Bill de Blasio's completely incompetent decision to house homeless individuals in hotels in an effort to combat the COVID-19 pandemic, I see the behaviors and actions that fit right in line with the pattern and profile I talked about in my book, The Man Crisis. And your Bill de Blasio has shown everyone that he is a textbook beta male by making this decision to house homeless individuals in these Upper West Side hotels and not think critically about how this would impact the quality of life in this part of the city. And because Bill de Blasio was acting on his emotions and not thinking critically, what he did was create an even worse situation than what was going on with the pandemic currently. Because in addition to having to deal with the COVID-19 pandemic, he has lowered the quality of life in this part of New York City, and he has increased the crime in this part of the city because these homeless individuals are not being given the care that they need to get their lives in order, and because they're not being given the care that they need to make efforts to rebuild their lives, they're tearing down this once prominent part of New York City. And sadly, we're seeing this done all because a beta male was placed in a leadership position, and this beta male doesn't understand that for every action there is an equal and opposite reaction. And that's what any good critical thinking leader knows when before they make a decision. Every action has an equal and opposite reaction, and because they know this, they think critically before they make any sort of decision to deal with any sort of crisis. And Bill de Blasio has shown he is not very good at managing crises, and this crisis, the COVID pandemic, he has practically failed miserably as related to dealing with the pandemic. Because if you look at this image of all of these homeless men, you notice that there is no social distancing being done in this photo, and these men are on the street just basically standing around like there is no pandemic going on. And this just again shows how hypocritical your Mayor de Blasio and even your Governor Cuomo truly are, because while they are allowing these homeless individuals to stand around with no social distancing, they're going out here going after people's liquor licenses and trying to shutter people's businesses, all because people go out and they go to these bars and they go out drinking. Now, both cases are equally wrong during a pandemic, but we don't see your Bill de Blasio or any of the people on the left trying to deal with this pandemic as related to these homeless individuals. Nor do we see any sort of constructive action being done to try to deal with the homeless crisis, a crisis that we see is not only affecting men, but affecting black men in large numbers. And the reason why I believe a lot of the black men are being affected by the homeless crisis is, one, due to the single mother households many black men have been raised in for the last 50 years, and two, because of the discrimination black men receive in the job market. Because when it comes down to discrimination, we have really not made any progress in trying to move past the racism and white supremacy in the job market, because many corporate owners would rather hire black women to work in their jobs, because a black woman is somebody who can kill two birds on the diversity quota mark. She's a woman and she's a minority, and that really hurts job opportunities for black men. Not to mention, the large immigrant population also gets job opportunities before heterosexual black men, as depicted in this photo. And those people are given job opportunities before black men. Not to mention, illegal immigrants are given job opportunities before black men. So you have this large black male homeless population. And the reason why you have this large black male homeless population is due to the continuing and ongoing discrimination that black men receive in the job market. And this discrimination is the main reason why so many black men wind up homeless. Now, the article wants to go out and make it look like the black guys are the bad guys because they're in this neighborhood, but these guys probably wouldn't be in this neighborhood if they had support from America, and America was really a fair country and gave black men the equal opportunities that it was promised, or really gave them the opportunities that were promised through affirmative action. And from this picture, it clearly shows that black men are not being given the equal opportunities they are supposed to get. And because they cannot get access to employment due to all of the discrimination they run into, this is why we're seeing so many black men on the street, homeless and on drugs and having mental health issues. Because the reason why a lot of these men are struggling out here is because they have no support system and they have nobody to really give them any sort of support as related to getting their life back together. Now, I have worked on a homeless program when I was working at the Strive Job Readiness Workshop, and back then I saw problems with the homeless crisis as related to what was going on back in 2000, and 20 years later, things continue to get worse. And again, I believe the reason why things continue to get worse is because we do not make an effort to invest in men, especially heterosexual black men. When it comes down to black men, they don't get any sort of investment in them, whether it be in our public schools or in the job market. Black men are not awarded opportunities to go out here and build their life up. And when we do get those opportunities, oftentimes they get yanked out from under us by people, white supremacists in the job market, or others like mammies and beta black males who want to try to get more crumbs from the master's table. So just as a black man like myself, when I was going into civil services coming in, there's somebody trying to push them out. And that when you push a black man out of a job, what happens is that black man is not able to take care of his bills. He's not able to take care of his business. And when a man loses a job, he winds up becoming depressed. He then winds up, in some cases, if his resolve isn't strong and he doesn't have the most high in his life, what happens is he starts drinking, or he gets on drugs, or his mental health starts to deteriorate. And these are the things that can lead to a man winding up becoming on the streets and becoming homeless. And these are the things that we could possibly prevent if we invested in men, like I talk about in my book, The Man Crisis. If we took a minute to invest in these guys when they are starting to have problems on the job, when they're running into these racist and these ratchet black women on the job trying to get them out, if we ran into them at the early points where they're having problems on the job, navigating the job, maybe we could prevent these men from winding up in these situations. And maybe if we looked out for these guys before, they wouldn't be what people call the terrors that are terrorizing prominent neighborhoods like the Upper West Side. Because in order for us to deal with this situation, we have to understand where these men came from. And they came from, again, two places: the single mother household and the fact that we have not provided any sort of investment or support in men for 50 years. I mean, we have spent $1,000 for every dollar that on women, and we've gotten only maybe a dollar in return. But if we had spent money investing in these men by providing them with the proper support, these men could get back up on their feet and they could become taxpayers and help out the American economy. But money in government, like these beta males, all they think is from a gynocentric mindset. And because they think from a gynocentric mindset, what happens is they keep thinking of investing in women instead of trying to work on investing in boys and investing in rebuilding some of these men out here. These brothers out here are out here because they have real problems. Now, this whole situation with the Upper West Side is become a complete disaster. And the reason why it's become a complete disaster is because when you put a beta male in a leadership position, what happens is everything that they touch turns into chaos. And the reason why it turns into chaos is because the beta male just does not know how to lead. He does not know how to organize. He does not know how to structure things. And because he doesn't know how to do these things, and he does not know how to set goals to come up with an end game, what happens is things wind up falling apart, things wind up going out of control, and people are not able to go about having the quality of life, because even some of the restaurants that want to open up on the street as related to the pandemic can't open because of the homeless men, the drug addicts, and the mentally ill being out on the streets. So we have a problem here, and the ultimate problem is we have a beta male mayor who doesn't know how to lead, and his lack of vision, his lack of forethought, and his inability to think critically is the main reason why the Upper West Side, the most priciest real estate here in New York, is practically looking like a ghetto because your beta male does not have a vision for the future, and your beta male does not have a vision towards an end game, nor can he set forth an agenda with goals to set forth how he's going to complete something, nor can he establish standards for a quality of life. He does everything based on emotion, and because he does everything based on emotion, what happens is you wind up with everything turning into chaos because he does things. Oh, I'm going to house these homeless men to fight COVID in an effort to get money from the government, but he doesn't think about the quality of life and the investment in the community and thinking about long-term tax revenue. Again, beta males are very short-term thinkers, and because they're short-term thinkers, what they do is get benefits in the short term, but do damage to a community in the long term. And this is why it is important to never put a beta male in a leadership position, because when you put a beta male in a leadership position, they can't really focus, they can't set goals, they can't delegate, they can't establish standards, and they can't establish accountability. And because they cannot do any of these things, what happens is you get things falling into chaos and you get things becoming completely out of order. This is why it is important to prepare a boy for manhood so he doesn't become a beta male like a Bill de Blasio, and don't make sure that your boy doesn't become like this, because if he cannot lead himself, he cannot take responsibility to lead something like a city or a business. If you'd like to see me make more videos like this, you can donate to my Patreon, my PayPal, or my Cash App by clicking the links in the description box. And if you want to try some of my SJS Direct publications, like The Man Crisis, and learn more about how men wind up in situations like this and how men are winding up in crisis, you can pick up my book, The Man Crisis, on Amazon.com in paperback and Kindle format. That's all I have to say for this video. You can comment, rate, and subscribe.